Good morning. My name is Carol Rowan. I have the honor and privilege of being your worship associate this morning. We welcome everyone here and online to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke, with a special welcome for those of you who are joining for the first time. Okay, thank you, Jesse. I can't hear. So I'll skip this part till later. For those of us who are here, can you take a second and turn around to the camera and wave so they know that the YouTube people know that we're here and we know they're there? Okay. For those of you on YouTube, if you'd like to share your joys and concerns during the Lifelines part of the service, please put them in the chat in the next 15 minutes. We acknowledge with gratitude and reverence that our church resides on land inhabited by the Tutelo and Monacan nations. Our minister is the Reverend Walter LaFleur, and he's away this week, and today's speaker is Tim Colley, whose sermon is, "What is a Good Death?" One final reminder, if you haven't already done so, please silence your cell phones. And I hope I did mine. Okay. Now, as you are willing and able, please join me in reciting our words of welcome. Good. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you express your identity, whatever your situation in life, whatever your experience of the holy, as you come seeking love, your presence here is a gift. Whether you're filled with sadness or overflowing with joy, needing to be alone with yourself or eager to engage with others, all who welcome all are welcome here. And our covenant, we commit to supporting each other with respect and direct communication as we work in community to explore spiritual growth and to be a force for good in the world. And now, as you're able, please stand and join us in singing Amazing Grace, which is number 205 in the hymnal.
Good morning. Our opening words today are by Sally Tisdale from her book, Advice for Future Corpses and Those Who Love Them, a practical perspective on death and dying. Buddhist practice requires one to confront the blunt facts of life, that we are constantly changing, that we are dissatisfied more or less all of the time, that we try desperately to hang on to what we have, that we are mortal, suffering beings. We will change, and everything and everyone we love will change. An old Buddhist meditation is simply this: I am of the nature to grow old. I am of the nature to be sick. I am of the nature to die. And that all that is dear to me and everyone I love is of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. At this time, I'd like to invite up all folks who are young or young at heart. And as you're coming up for our story this morning, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Jessie McEwen. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at UUCR. Today, I have a story for you guys about my mom. Now, some people out here have met my mother before, and she's a woman of many talents and many things about her. And one of the things that she does is called hospice care, which means when people are at the end of their life, she's their nurse. And she helps them with all kinds of things. She helps them go to the bathroom. She helps them count their medication, and she also helps the people around them who are going to be living after that person dies. And she was going to tell us a story this morning, but you know what she's doing? She's doing her job right now. So she didn't have time to make a video for you guys. So she told me to tell you some things. What she told me to tell you is that part of her job is making sure that when people are dying, that they're comfortable and that they have what they want, not just what they need. So one thing that someone wanted was her mandolin. She played mandolin her whole life, and she wanted her mandolin and she wanted to play it a little bit more. Another thing that a person wanted was everybody that they know and love to stop by and say hey and to bring a balloon. So their room, when that person died, their room was filled with balloons. That's kind of cool, isn't it? So when we think about when we die, it can be a little scary. Now is Halloween time, and people use death as a way to spook you out and to scare you. But think about people like my mom who get to help people find those things that they want near them, things that they want to remember. And what's one thing you want to remember forever? I want to remember my sister forever. Remember my mom forever? What's something you want to remember forever? Your dog, yeah. Just so many people. My mom's dog will visit them if they don't have a dog anymore and they're talking about their dog. My mom has a dog named Lucy who jumps up on their bed and hangs out with them. What about you? What do you want to remember? Oh yeah, I know I'm gonna. I'm wearing all cats today, so I will definitely remember my cat and probably your cat forever. Kevin? Your house. And that's another thing is people a lot of times they choose to be in their houses with the people that they love when my mom visits them and helps them die. It's kind of an interesting job. It's a very cool job to help people die comfortably. Now we're going to go upstairs and we're going to talk about the things that happen around death, and we're going to make some things And we'll keep talking about this because the best way to have death not be scary is to do what? Be comfortable with it. And we get comfortable by talking. So let's head out that door right there. Kevin's going to lead us upstairs and we'll make some stuff.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Our readings today are from Bernie Siegel. The first reading, he's a pediatrician and writer. I think he's still living, but he's probably not practicing as a pediatrician anymore. Okay. Can you hear me now? No? Louder? Okay. Okay, how about that? The art of dying is really the art of living. What is hard is living, not dying. The art of dying is not about avoiding death. That's not living. Besides that, it doesn't work, and you'll be upset and angry when you find out. Concentrate on living and loving, on completing your life. In the process, you may find you live a longer, healthier life because these attitudes are life enhancing. You should diet, exercise, love, pray, and meditate, not in order to avoid death, but because it feels right to live that way, live in the moment. And from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, it's only when we truly know and understand that we have a limited time on earth and that we have no way of knowing when our time is up, we will then begin to live each day to the fullest, as if it was the only one we had. Our speaker today is Tim Colley. Tim received his Master of Social Work degree from Louisiana State University in 2019, and this past August, his Master of Science degree in Thanatology from Marian University in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I forgot to tell you, Tim, I'm from Wisconsin, but I never heard of this university, and Tim told me it's a Catholic university. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Tim has worked in the fields of youth services, medical social work, and social worker, bereavement counselor, coordinator, and program director at Legacy Hospice in Roanoke, and he currently serves as clinical social worker at Blue Ridge Cancer Care, where he does counseling, among other things. Okay, Tim?
Good morning again, everyone. Okay, hi, I'm Tim Colley. My pronouns are he, him. I'm here today basically to speak to everyone about hospice and palliative care. Ultimately, what I wanted to kind of touch on was that on Saturday, October the 14th, was Hospice and Palliative Care Day. It's typically held the second Saturday of each October, and next month is going to be Home Care and Hospice Month, which honors hospice care workers, home care workers, everyone in the homes that sort of helps people through those last stages. And then with home health, it's not last stage as much as palliative. Ultimately, what I'm going to be looking at here today is what is a good death? What does that mean? What does that mean to the people who actually go through things with hospice, who actually live through the process of dying? And I start with what is a bad death and what led me to this thanatology world, because she was, as Carol was mentioning, I did just finish a master's degree in thanatology, which is the science of death and dying. But I look at it more as a guide to grief and teaching people how to work with their grief and work through the different stages of grief. Not Kubler-Ross like, but I'll explain that later. But looking at that, a bad death, in my opinion, is anything where a person suffers or anything where a person does not get to use their voice towards the end of their life. And in talking about that, It's what led me to this, because with my mom, she was late stage COPD. She had several other things going on. And here I am. At that time, I was this social worker who had been in the field for a while, but I still wasn't familiar with end of life. I wasn't familiar with what hospice was. So basically, she suffered. We had no idea. We thought, okay, well, you ultimately have to kind of pay this price before you die, where it doesn't necessarily hurt, but you get through it. You go. You don't have to have the morphine, because, oh no, that's what hospice is. Here comes the nurse with the morphine, and that's the end. You have maybe a day, but that's really not what hospice was. And that's what I more or less had to learn as I worked through the process. So hospice is where we kind of end up. I start with palliative care, because palliative care is the beginning of what can lead to hospice. All hospice care is palliative care for symptom management. It is to reduce the pain, not cure the disease. All palliative care is not hospice, because people can still be having cancers treated, and they can still be getting all these things done. And it's basically having the symptoms, the pain managed, while they're trying to move through anything symptom wise with the actual cancer or whatever life limiting illness they may have. So, looking at those pieces, palliative care in the picture of hospice is necessary. People think the morphine is bad. Morphine comes last. It's usually whatever they can do to keep someone functioning at their highest level, communicating, loving their families, being with their families. That's what they're looking for when you're looking into what hospice actually means. And I think the misconception of instant death is what horrifies people. You think when death begins, when death starts, that it's got to be this horrible experience. And that's why I wanted to talk a lot about good death today, because good death is ultimately, it equals whatever good death means to the person. Now, does that mean we all get a choice in the matter? Does that mean we get to, every one of us gets the opportunity to say, I'm going to be on hospice and I'm going to say all the things and I'm going to do all the things? No, because I could die up here, which I feel like I'm gonna, but truly and honestly, it's something where we could each die tomorrow and that be the end of it. And we in no way, shape, or form have the ability to work through the pieces that hospice gives us. Hospice is a way to give voice to death. And that's the way that I've always worked with it and explained it to others. It's also a mechanism for when there are no more options. And that's probably something that's very hard to hear. And I work in oncology. So I have just many people who deal with the idea of dying and they hate it and they don't want to do it. So it's processing, okay, none of us want to die. You're absolutely right. It sucks. There's nothing we can do to make that better. It just is where it is. So the conversation becomes, well, what can we do to make this an easier process? You don't want to die. So no, it's not fair, especially when you're talking to a 35-year-old with a 4-year-old. No, that's not fair, but it is, because none of us know when our time is up. So I always take this angle where I say, well, we at least have the benefit that you're able to put a voice to it, even if you are 35 years old. If you're 85 years old, and I tell everyone that too, an 85-year-old doesn't want to die any more than a 35-year-old does. It just is part of where we go in life. So a good death is a choice. It is something where you can prepare for it. We're talking advanced directives, the things no one wants to talk about. Who do you want to speak for you when you can't speak? And that's a scary thought that most people don't want to deal with. But that's something where I'm 45 years old and I've had an advanced directive rewritten probably 3 times since my 30s. It's just something that it's a good idea, whether or not you actually use it or not, and you can change it anytime you want to. So a big piece of a good death is planning. Do you have an idea of what you want when you are actually gone? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to become Do you want to wear one of those neat little fungus suits they now have that you can be buried under a tree and do things? It's whatever you want to do. I support it as long as there's support for you and your choices. So, another great thing about hospice, in my opinion, is that it's built for everyone. So, one thing I see a lot of is poverty, a lot of poverty, especially in our area. And a big problem in this area is also lack of education on what death and dying is. So they think hospice comes in and they kill grandma. And that's the story everyone tells for their entire life until the day they die. And everyone goes in scared of hospice. They go in scared of end of life choices. So a lot of what I do is nag constantly that hospice is a means to an end. It is a way where when they say there's no more treatment options, there's nothing left, it's not giving up. So, big picture here, you go on hospice, you have cancer. Okay, so we're not going to treat your stage 4 lung cancer with mets to bone. Anything related to that no longer gets treatment. But you get pneumonia. We're not going to make you suffer and die with pneumonia. You get any other kind of disease or illness. Medicare, for instance, will still cover that. Part of Medicare flips to Medicare hospice. It's all confusing insurance jargon, but there are ways. You don't just go in there and die, and you're not just abandoned. So just like just like with anything else, you're going to have something where someone is still supporting you, and you get a full family sort of feeling around it. You get a nurse, you get a social worker, you get a chaplain, and you get aides. And the aides come in and they help with the bathing and they help with all the parts that get scarier and scarier as the person you love begins to leave the world. More than that, you have someone that will hold your hand through the process. And I can't tell you how many people that have went on hospice that have been completely alone. And the hospice works out, the social worker specifically, not that I'm tooting my own horn, but we find ways. We find ways so the person is not alone. There's just a lot of pieces that go into the hospice part. And even for people who don't have insurance, look for bigger hospices. They have to do pro bono work. If they don't, come find me and I will chase one down that will. And I mean that. There's someone that's going to advocate for this one way or the other. So hospice is for everyone. That is the big thing that I'm trying to say in that piece. The idea of death can be overwhelming due to the unknown, and the idea that on top of that fear, people have to die without help is still one of the most ridiculous concepts I've ever heard in my life. Because hospice, while it does offer morphine and things that stop the pain towards the end, and it does eventually help you sort of transition into a peaceful death. It is not the primary of it. Hospice is life. Hospice will, and I have found this, but it's also scientifically proven. If you were to stop your treatment because they say treatment is no longer an option, you are more likely to live longer on hospice than if you continued getting your treatment, be it chemo, be it radiation, be it seeking surgery. And this is when you talk to the people who want to die with an IV in their arm or with something connected to their port. They're going to die in a chair. They're going to die in pain. And that's what hospice avoids. That's what hospice gives you the option to change. Because when you are faced with your mortality, most people are going to say, I absolutely do not want to die. Well, none of us do. Pity, because it's going to happen. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It is just you either accept where you're headed or you fight it tooth and nail and go out scratching. So there is a choice there, one way or the other. Now, one thing that I've always challenged very much when it comes to hospice is the idea that it's giving up. Because what I hear is, my family won't let me. My family says no. Can you talk to my family? Well, I can. They're usually going to cuss me out and scream at me and tell me, you're trying to kill mom. You're trying to do this. And one thing is, and I in this area, I also go down the road of the education being very important. It's very important. It's very important to speak to the Medicare community because it is the most underutilized automatic gift that you get from Medicare. And Medicare is awful. I'm not going to pretend that it's a good insurance, but it does give you hospice Medicare, which covers everything. And this isn't me inviting you guys, by the way. This is me saying, when it's time, let's consider this. And in speaking of that, it's something where not only, let me explain this in looking at rural Virginia, where we are now. Most people don't even know that it's a benefit. Most people don't even know how to use their Medicare properly. And that's where we come in as far as education. But we're not just talking about older individuals. I'm talking about our minorities, our underprivileged, and especially looking at African Americans. They don't trust our system. They don't trust the hospice system specifically because they were just left to die so many times in the past. And that's a whole new rabbit hole I could go down, and I'm watching my time because I'm told that I'm long-winded. And I'm going to try and avoid that. But that's a big deal to me, the equity of what hospice is. And because it is an equal playing field. Death is the equal playing field. It brings us all together because we're all going to get there, no matter how rich, no matter how poor, no matter our ethnicity, no matter our belief system. We're all going to die. The choice of whether it's a good death or a bad death, if you have it, I hope you choose a good death because the best death is when you make the choice. And one thing I always speak on is memento mori. I don't know if anyone's heard the phrase. It's something that I am very familiar with, and it's from my thanatology roots, but it means remember that you die. It does not mean live to die. It does not mean to focus on your death. It means just remember that you die. It gives life flavor. It gives life meaning. And that's much more than people are willing to look at when it comes to death because we spend so much time trying to avoid it, running from it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk with our families. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about the fact that mom's going to die or grandma or it's either you can deal with it or it will deal with you. And that's an unfortunate truth. It is, but there can be a beauty to it. And the reason I always come to memento mori is because when given the choice, it doesn't need to be a shock. And I don't think any of us are going to be shocked that we die. None of us are going to be shocked that the people that we love die. But there's always a piece that you're able to kind of attach to and make meaning from. And that's what I try to do for everyone that I touch. Life has meaning. Let's focus on life, but let's not ignore the importance of death. Let's not ignore the value of what death is because it makes us appreciate life more and it makes us love one another even more than you could even imagine. Nothing has taught me more about life than studying and walking beside those who are dying. It has been the greatest gift. And thank you for giving me your time today. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Death doulas are, she asked how death doulas fit into the picture. And death doulas are to death what midwives are to birth. They are someone who, they become a part of the family. And it's it's such a new, and it's an area that's being explored more. Some hospices have them, some hospices don't go down that road at all because some people think, oh, it's voodoo. But it's really more about having someone to truly sit by someone and hold their hand. It's about having someone available who also answers questions like a midwife would. Mhm.
So if you have a question, I'm going to bring you the mic so everybody.
So other than Elizabeth Kubler-Ross or Bernie Siegel, is there a book you might recommend that might help us in this process?
I'm going to throw last names at you because it's how they come in my head because of years of citations, but Doka. And he explored disenfranchised grief, which is something I could give a 3-hour conversation about. There's Strobe, Strobe, and they looked at, and it was a married couple. They looked at different avenues to go down when you're planning end of life. There's so many. I can, if you'd like, I can send something that actually gets printed to give just all kinds of information, like a citation list, if you will. I'd happily do that.
In my experience, is this on?
It's on. I hear you.
Had great hospice experience with my mom. With my dad, what is the situation? The intersection between a good hospice experience and a hospital seems still very broken. The hospital seems to really actually get in the way of these kinds of support and services, or it's such a dichotomy. It's like they quit you as soon as you start talking about it. Locally,
Mhm.
in your experience, is the Carillion Clinic hospital system any better than most hospital systems in integrating palliative care and hospice care into a hospital experience for the family?
I have to be very careful treading down that road. I think what I will say is investigate. Talk to someone who is very knowledgeable on hospice and ask them these questions. And I will talk to you away from a live mic any day. But I think it's something where you have to investigate every option you have. And yeah, I will talk to you later about that. I really am. I'm very, diplomatic right here.
I have a question. Are you familiar with Alan Wolfeld's work?
I am not.
Alan Wolfeld has a Center for Loss and Transition. I studied with him in Fort Collins, Colorado,
Oh.
and I just wanted the congregation to be aware that I've donated a series of his very small books on different kinds of grieving to our library. So if you need some information on grief or just need the help of a good book, it's easy read, small little chapters, sometimes just a page of information. That can be very helpful when it's difficult to concentrate when one is grieving.
I want that information if you don't mind.
Hey, my name's Megan. I'm actually, I work with Tim and do a lot of hospital work. I've been an oncology nurse and work with the hospital team. I just wanted to mention at Carillion, they do have a palliative care team that if it's consulted in your loved one's care, can do a really good job making recommendations and kind of helping with transitions from the hospital. They also have a palliative care unit. I think there's 10 beds, which does a very good job. If your loved one could be transferred there, they give intensive palliative care,
In-house.
nursing
It's-
care
yeah.
in Carillion, Roanoke Memorial. So just so you know that, that's all.
The big thing on that one, because it is wonderful, it's with palliative care in-house type setting, it is something where it's not going to be in-home. It typically, and a lot of times what that helps with is our indigent who don't necessarily have homes. That's what I love about the palliative care unit specifically, is that people who don't necessarily have insurance and who will suffer and die alone typically do then have a place. It works as a hospice almost at that time, like a general inpatient. Mm-hmm.
My sister-in-law was in the Carillion hospice unit, and that is the best care I've ever seen in any hospital setting in Roanoke. It was excellent, supportive of us as well as the patient.
Good.
Thank you. This is just a piece of information that some of you may know, but a in-house hospice is being built in Roanoke City, and may actually be in the county, maybe
Is
on
that the one through
edge.
Good Sam?
Yeah, Good Sam. And they are in the process, and it hope to have it open in 2024. And that's I've had some experience being a loved one of someone who was in an inpatient hospice, and it was wonderful. So I'm excited about that for our city.
I'm very excited about that too. We
So
need that.
donate to it if you'd like.
Hint, hint, hint. Okay. Any more? Thank you all.
The work of this church requires the time, talent, and treasure of many people. As we collect today's offering, know that your generous gifts will go towards furthering the mission of the church.
Good morning. I'm Terry Smith, here to represent the Caring Committee. This is a time in the service when we like to share the joys and concerns, special things in your heart. We keep a journal in the hallway or on the altar prior to services. If you'd like to share some information or send it into the church office, and the admin will get it to us for Sunday announcement. We have no news this week other than a request from me personally. As you may have noticed, Beth Carruthers is not coming to Sunday services anymore. And a group of us who's been volunteering to drive her are interested in helping her to stay connected by using our YouTube services. However, there's a problem with Wi-Fi and the quality of the signal and the place where she stays. And I guess right now I'm asking for a little technical guidance or expertise on someone who's familiar with remote Wi-Fi, remote hotspots, and how to set that up so that people with a Mac or a PC or an iPhone or whatever, we could interchangeably help Beth attend services online that way. So if you can catch up with me, I'd appreciate the help. And now, in case you have something in your heart that you hold special dear and would like to light a candle, we invite you to come forward at this time.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me. Speak for me. Speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me. Dance with me. Dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me. Comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul.
May our prayers be heard and our hearts be lifted.
A prayer from Thich Nhat Hanh. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being, common to all of us and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering in each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen. We have a couple of announcements today. Most of the announcements are in today's bulletin or in the weekly newsletter. And especially for those of you watching on YouTube, if you're not receiving the newsletter and would like to, please contact our church administrator, Susan Cousins. Her email address is admin@uuroanoke.org. Let me say it again, admin@uuroanoke.org. Hildy Getz reminded me that we have a survey about our experiences, things we like, things we don't like here in UUCR. And today, I believe, is the last day to collect those. And Hildy, will you be out in the coffee hour? Okay, good. Finally, we have an important birthday today. John Benke is celebrating a birthday, and we're going to celebrate with him after a while.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you.
Finally, I want to give thanks to Tim, to Carrie, Terry, Jesse, and also giving thanks for Teresa Poole, who connected me with Tim so he could be here with us today. Thank you, Teresa, wherever you are. Where she is. She's here.
And thank Betsy and Sherry.
And Beth, thank you very much. Good, thanks so much. Okay. And now we're going to have closing music. Please stand and join if you can. It's the singing of Abide With Me. It's number 101 in the hymnal, and maybe it's up here.
Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, still with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, so abide with me. Swift to its close, ebbs on life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changes not, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight and tears no bitterness. Where is death to sting? Where gravely a victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me.
Please be seated for our benediction and extinguishing of the chalice. Lead me from death to life, from falsehood to despair. Lead me from despair to hope. I said that wrong. From falsehood to truth. Lead me from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. Go into your week in peace, and may the light of the chalice go with you.
Behold how